All right, being live streamed. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of our weekly real estate backstory. My name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners.
My name is Richardson. I'm the compliance broker for Maximum One Realty and Realtor Partners.
And so we wanted to, first of all, wish everyone a happy Martin Luther King Day.
Absolutely.
And so it is it's in celebration of a great man. A lot of real estate offices and a lot of businesses are closed. A lot of attorneys' offices, a lot of things like that are kind of going on. So we hope that you enjoy this day celebrating just an amazing man. So
stay warm
and try and stay warm. Yeah, we had a little weather. We'll just go with that right there. And so, but Georgia's we don't do good in weather. So
no, we don't do it when it comes to snow.
It's okay. So we're gonna we want to jump in and kind of start off on one of these hip new trends that we're seeing, and that is the 10-year challenge. Okay, so in real estate, the 10-year challenge, for a lot of agents, they've had the exact same headshots for not just 10 years, but for 25 years or something more. So, we all get that. And we all do this one too. We do the lean back kind of thing. And I am being a little tongue in cheek, making fun of us because I'm an us. But really where I wanted to kind of start off with is let's kind of look at what's kind of been going on, in the last 10 years. What are some shifts that we've seen? So first one is that there's a pretty significant shift on the share of first-time buyers that are down. Now we're down from 37% 10 years ago to only 34% now. And a lot of that is due to just kind of the market economics of what's going on. There is a lot more demand in the first-time buyer age, and we're seeing a lot more millennials moving into that space. But still, that our share of first-time buyers is down by about 4%, 3 to 4% from where it was 10 years ago. The other thing, which is not really any huge surprise, is that the share of buyers that use the internet to search is almost, it's at 95%. Let's just
that's huge.
Yeah, except for the folks who live under
a
bridge, like a troll.
Yeah, and what you publish out on the internet is important. Whether it's your lifestyle, the way you do business, and what have you, people do observe.
And so we need to make sure that we're being conscious of that in all the marketing that we're doing and how we're engaging. Our buyers are using the internet to search, so we need to be able to be comfortable in those platforms, whether it's social media, our websites, how we're posting, reaching out into our database, that kind of thing. Now, at the same time, this also has 15 and 30 years ranges, but this is the home equity gain on a typical single family home if purchased 5, 10, 15, and 30 years ago. And this is for Atlanta. This is for our Atlanta market here. So if you bought a home 10 years ago, on average, your equity would have been around $242,000 in equity growth in 10 years. And you can see the crazy thing is that look at that equity growth compared to even the 30 year. In 30 years, your equity would have grown $318,000. That's a much more significant jump in both the last 5 years as well as the last 10 years. So Atlanta really is an appreciating market. We've seen that. Here's the median single family existing home price, same kind of thing that we've seen. It's $101. 101,000 versus 325 is where we're at in the last 10 years. And so, this shows over, 10 years ago, our home equity gain was around $242,000. Principal payment is around 18%. 20, price gains in annual price change. You can see on average, we've grown about 12% on average over the last 10 years. Now, traditionally, real estate runs in that 3 to 5% range. And you can see on the 30-year for Atlanta, we're running about 4.5, which is very, very normal. So on 10 years, a 12.3 price change that really is this, that shows that Atlanta is an appreciating market, and this is no huge surprise. We have a positive inflow of more people moving to Georgia than moving out of Georgia. We have the second highest number of federal jobs in the United States outside of DC. There's a lot of great things, or a natural transportation hub. We don't have a lot of the other issues in there kind of going on. So, we just thought I'd kind of do our real estate take on the 10-year challenge.
And how great Atlanta is.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. So, dog ownership is huge. 53% of Americans now own a dog. And, that's a 22% increase in 2 years. When COVID hit, we needed a snuggle buddy kind of thing. And so, there was a poll that said, and so these are respondents who said yes to the following. Are your pets as important to your family as your children? 81% said yes. Yes, my dog is as important as my two-legged children. I find amazing. And then, not that I don't love my dogs, I don't mean it to
We
be
have
that
three,
way.
so
And then, do you consider yourself to be a pet parent rather than a pet owner? 78% said that they're a pet parent. And so, this goes to show, well, I mean, I don't think it shows, but I think it's one of those things, especially like for listing agents. This is actually a really important thing. In the past, it was pretty easy to kind of poo-poo. You got to put your dog away. You got to put your cat away. Can you not have them here? That kind of stuff. But now
they're part of the family.
we have to really deal with pets a lot differently than back, than 10 years ago, even, kind of thing. It was kind of like a sidebar. And so not only for our sellers having to deal with animals and how do our sellers feel about them, but also what are buyer expectations looking for when it comes to things like that, because that leads me, it's a perfect segue. And so these are the must-have features that folks are looking for as they contemplate a move. Yeah. Right. And so they're getting ready to move to a house. What's the big house features? What's that thing that drives you? What's number one?
Pet friendly.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we're building a fence for our dog before we move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So number two is outdoor space, again, which kind of does in there. And then after that's large kitchen, good school district, covered parking, guest bedrooms. So, there are, pets are really high on this list. And we've seen that's kind of a recent trend that we've seen moving. What are the reasons that Americans are thinking of moving in 2022? The number one reason is my current home is too small. So we're expecting to see much more of a shift into more square footage. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And so 17% are looking just to fulfill their dreams of home ownership. And we all know who that is. It's our largest segment in housing. That's our millennials. Our millennials are just wanting to own the home, that natural desire to own your home. 16% say their home's too expensive. So we are seeing a lot of folks moving out to the burbs and that kind of thing. Some folks are looking for different features, lower cost of living, which, by the way, Atlanta's pretty good on that list. So
there we go.
We want to kind of jump into something that is kind of I'm not going to say a negative, but definitely
this is what we've been warning about.
This is big news here, kind of thing. So the mortgage, the interest rates jumped, and I don't mean they jumped a little.
They jump a lot.
And so this week interest rate is 3.45%, and that is a jump of almost 25%. It's a quarter point in a week. And so if you look at where we've gone just since January, in the 3 weeks basically of January, so 2.5 weeks kind of thing, interest rates are steady moving up. We've talked about this and we've tried to prepare you, and I hope that you've been preparing your clients for this, because interest rates are rising and they have been rising. And so, this right here, you can kind of see what have interest rates done, since January of last year, and kind of you can see kind of what the trend on is. And it's very easy to feel like, oh my gosh, interest rates are scary. This is going to be a challenge. What are we going to do? The sky is falling, doom and gloom, boo hoo 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 hoo. Well, let's make sure that we're keeping things kind
in
of
perspective.
Yeah. So like this is the exact same graph. Since they started keeping track of the numbers. Yeah. Okay. Since 1971, this is how interest rates have been tracking. And so you can kind of see where we are on the scale of things. So have they ticked up? I mean, if you take that little segment, that 1 year segment that we showed earlier, well, gosh, all of a sudden it's scary. Like, ooh, things are terrible. That's going bad. How about where we are comparatively? Like if you look at where we're at over the last, I don't know, 40 something years, you can see that really this, we are not heading in, and this is not dark times. We're not going to be, crashing and burning, that kind of stuff. It is going to make some impact. And so, where this really comes from. And so, like why do they jump up? If you haven't seen the news, consumer pricing is just kind of going through the roof right now. And so the consumer price index CPI jumped 7% year on year, and that's the biggest jump in over 40 years. I mean, we're going back into when it was in the 70s and the 80s kind of thing. And so not interest. Sorry, consumer pricing. Inflation has really been rearing its head kind of thing. And so at the same time, a lot of members of the Fed have come out and are very supportive of policy rate increases to curb inflation. And so, all through last year, they were like, well, we're going to taper bond purchases because,
right.
The U.S. mortgage market basically follows the 10-year Treasury as it goes along. And the U.S. has been buying just billions of dollars in treasuries,
Treasury bonds.
and they've been tapering that down. That's going to get tapered down even faster. Okay. And now to the point to where not only are they going to taper that down into March, because they were going to plan on tapering it down through October of this year. And now they're going to taper down through March. And then what happens after they're done tapering? They're going to raise interest rates.
Well, the interest rate's going to follow.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
But now the interest rate does not impact mortgages. I know that sounds weird, okay, but when the Fed, when Feds raise the interest rates, they're raising the borrowing rate at which banks borrow money. But that doesn't drive interest. Now it will affect
the
interest rates, but it is not they raise rates and immediately interest rates go. No, this is going to be like a rising ship kind of thing moving on. But we jumped up to 3.45 this past week.
Which is a 0.25%. It's significant. I don't think in 2021 we have seen a significant 0.25% jump in a week.
Yeah.
So this is just a warning to your client to let them know that hey, interest rate is not going to stay low anymore. Right now is the best time to buy and get yourself locked into a rate.
That's exactly right. And this is, I don't normally like regurgitate slides, but one thing that we shared with you guys last week, I want to kind of bring it up again is, will the home buyers be discouraged by higher rates? There was a study by Redfin that said nearly half of the buyers would feel more urgency if rates pass 3.5%. And so, we're at 3.45. So we're really close to that number. And so the interesting thing is that, on one hand, we can be like, oh no, interest rates are going down. That's really going to hurt. That's going to slow things down. Guess what? Half of your buyers, this is going to increase their urgency. Now, the other things that we have to be looking at, this is also going to change the dynamic for certain people, and we need to be ready to handle that as well. We have a lot of buyers that are rushing into a lot mortgages now because we've been talking about interest rates are rising. Tell your clients, and a lot of folks, we've told them and they're like, yeah, whatever. It's kind of like when your mom tells you something to do. And so now all of a sudden they're like, oh no,
mom's right.
Yeah, mom's right. So
that's right.
So even though interest rates jumped up, purchase applications jumped 2% last week compared with the previous week. So we're seeing, the other thing is we're going into, we're moving into our spring market. We've seen where January continues to be a strong month moving. We come right out of December and we just jump on it right into January kind of thing. And that's where we're at right now. And purchase applications have not declined, even with a rise in interest rates. If anything, they've jumped up. So don't get it in your head that, oh, well, the buyers are running away. It's not going to happen. Blah, blah, blah.
The sky is not falling, you guys. Okay. Just make sure you educate your client on what's going on in the industry. I think an informed buyer would make a decision much more swift than a uninformed buyer that hears all these things around the internet and not being educated.
So, one thing that we have to be ready to discuss, and this is going to change how we're interacting with our clients, is how much can they afford as mortgage rates increase? Because, this graph right here, this shows, as home prices, how much can you afford? This assumes a 20% down, 30-year mortgage,
Mhm.
point and a quarter for taxes, half a point for insurance, no HOA. And so, on a $1,500 payment, at 2%, that's somewhere around $375,000. But if you move up to a 4% rate, well, that goes down
To about almost
yeah,
300.
yeah. And so you can kind of see how this really affects. And so we need to be proactive about this. Should we be taking our clients and looking at properties and showing them properties that's at the top of their price range right now?
No,
And, that's a really bad recipe, because once you've seen a house at 350 and now you can only afford 300, those
it's a
300
big
houses they
disappointment.
don't fit, right?
This is why the buyer gets discouraged, because they think they can afford this price point, and when it interest rate shift or anything has slight variation, and now they're not able to afford a house that they have their heart set on.
Yep. That's it exactly. So, will home prices fall in response to mortgage rates?
No.
No, we're not looking at a rate. Are they going to moderate?
Yes.
Yeah, we really do feel, and we've been talking about this for a while now, in part just the health of our market needs to see moderation. But, with the Fed raising interest rates, that will curb demand at some point. We know
Well,
that
at some point, the value of the home is not going to rise, because they're just a break-even point between buyers and seller at some point. And also the appraisers right now are doing stuff a little more conservatively than what they were doing this summer.
Well, and we've already started to see it. If you look at right here, this is our median listing price year over year in the Atlanta area over last month. And now it was 9.9% over prior year. Here's the great news. It's the first time we've been under double digits in a year and a half, almost,
Right.
kind of thing. So we've already started to see prices moderating. Folks will start losing their mind and talking about how the market's crashing. And are we going to see some ebb and flow here in it? We absolutely will. What we have to do is position ourselves to be prepared for a changing market. If you are like, if you just like, well, things are gonna be good, I'm just going to keep doing what I do, that's not going to be a good recipe, right? I mean, the only constant we have in real estate is change. So we have to be ready for that change. And we need to be there to guide our clients through this change as well. All right. Now, one of those other changes out there is, and a lot of our buyers believe that they need a much larger down payment than they really do. Okay. And so this is what the consumers out there believe. So 11% of our consumers believe that they need 0 to 5%. Okay. And do you really need zero? Can you buy a house for nothing?
Well,
No,
they're
it's
thinking
not
about
out there.
USDA down payment system program and what have
But
you.
they are out there, but you still have to have money for down payment. And do you have to be, there, I mean, we have VA and like Ming said, USDA, but is that really realistic?
Georgia Dream.
Yeah. I mean, that's really not that realistic. About 20% say they need between 6 to 10%, 4% say they need 11 to 15%. The biggest group of our buyers, 35% of buyers say they need 16 to 20%, and another 10% see we need more than 20%.
And the reason being for the higher rate is because a lot of buyers are guaranteeing appraisal gap in order for their offer to be selected.
But let's look. But how about reality? What's our reality? Well, this is the typical down payment among home buyers for the last 30 years, basically. And so our first time buyers are averaging 7% down payments. Now, for repeat buyers, they are averaging 17%, because a lot of our repeat buyers are rolling up their equity into their next home purchase. And so they will typically have a larger down payment. But for our first time buyers, the average down payment is 7%. And so the idea that we have to have 20% to buy a home, or between roughly 20%, that's just not really true when our average first time buyer is bringing 7% down to the home. And so that's you can kind of see that number is kind of ebbed and flowed over the course of the past few 30 years. But and 7% is at the higher side of things. We've seen it run 6, but that's still a very reasonable
Mhm.
number for us to be sharing out there.
Absolutely.
Zillow released their 10 hottest markets in the United States. And so, the Sun Belt down there, they have a bunch of them, but guess where Atlanta comes in?
7.
Number 7. So, Zillow ranks us as the 7th hottest market in the United States. And I think they're pretty spot on with that one kind of thing. Also, there was also a new study which said, hey, what are the most neighborly cities based on satisfaction with neighbors, community involvement, recommending the neighborhood. And Atlanta comes in at number 16 in the US. So we're pretty friendly folks kind of thing. This is something we keep hearing folks talk about right now. And I even saw in the news, that foreclosure activity is now over pre-pandemic levels. Okay, yes, is that true? Sure. Foreclosure is up to where it was before the foreclosure. I mean, I'm sorry.
Before COVID.
Before COVID, I can't seem to speak today. That's a real challenge for me. But our foreclosure levels now back to where it was before COVID. Yeah, PC. Yes, it was. Yes, it is. But it was already at some of the lowest levels that you've seen. If you look at where our foreclosure activity has been running historically, of course, in the 2007, 8, 9, 10 range, era, that was a different world, but you can kind of see that we are still way, way below. So no, there's not this big wave of foreclosures coming in. They're just,
there's some inventory coming online, but it's not in excess.
Right.
And
our levels are really, really tight right now.
And just like anything else, those property is going to have multiple bids, like anything else.
Now, this should come as no news to anybody, but we're not building enough houses, right? Okay, no news flash here. Millennials, that's the largest group of Americans right now. And a lot of them are reaching that 30 to 40, 30 to 40 year old kind of thing. When the baby boomers were the biggest part of the segment, we were building 60% more homes than we are now.
Relative to the size of the population.
But when the market crashed in 2007, 6, that kind of stuff, we stopped building.
Right.
And so we want to share this slide with you because I want you to see what's been going on with home building. And so this is, so the graph shows, number of homes built per 1,000 Americans. And so, when folks say, is the market going to crash? Why don't we have enough homes? Why aren't we, like what, it just doesn't seem like we should not. It seems like we've been building and a lot of we just think that's kind of is. If you look at new homes built look at where we were in 2003, 2001, 2007 compared to where we are now. You can see it's like we fell off a cliff. Mm-hmm. And so for the last 10, 12 years, we've been making babies, but we ain't building houses, right? And so that's the thing is that we're at some of the lowest levels on home construction ever kind of thing. And so, it is trending up, but we are nowhere near where it has been. Now, what kind of an impact that the interest rates and that kind of stuff has on it, I really think it's going to put a lot of pressure on builders to move back into the affordable price range on homes.
Absolutely.
And that's what we really want to see happen. That's where the biggest demand is. That's why we see so much going on in multifamily and apartments and things like that right now. We need affordable new construction. Is really, really one of those big things that we need. Circle of Excellence, COE, $1 million club, yada yada yada. The different boards call it different things. Get your forms in. You got to send them into us. We have to validate them, make sure that they're right. Something, different boards have different rules on what you have to do to get it sent in. Some have extended their deadlines. Pinnacle, for example,
has not.
Others haven't. Some you may have missed out. And a lot of the boards are very structured about when they get these things in. If you want to get your $1 million club awards and that kind of stuff, you got to get them in. Don't wait because it's all of a sudden you're gonna be like, oh, that's there. Can I get this in? No, you won't. So do it now.
A deadline's deadline, y'all.
Yep.
So
we want you to boost your productivity too right now. We see this, we're starting off the first of the year. You kind of really got to get motivated. So one of the biggest things you can do is start a to-do list. We use them, big time here. That's how you stay focused on everything you got to get
You
done.
stay engaged, and also you understand where your directions are. And when you don't have a direction, it's easy to get distracted with the side, what I call hustle. And the side hustle really is not your primary focus in your primary job.
Yeah.
And then you will get to a rut, to a point where you lose your system and you lose track. And that's going to be detriment. It's going to be devastating, honestly, on your business. And we see a lot of agents that are just losing their motivation right now. And we want to encourage you guys, please take some type of business planning class. If not, have an accountability partners. So you can stay on top of everything and stay focused.
Yeah. Number 2 thing you should do, eat your frog. Have you ever read the book, eat a frog? If you had to eat a frog, as gross as that sounds, when would you want to do it? Well, you want to get it over with, kind of thing. Now, what's the frog in real estate? For a lot of us, is making phone calls, reaching out into our database, doing those tedious, menial things that we just don't like to do. Knock them out, get them done first. They're much better. If you start doing all those other things ahead of time, you'll never get back to them. Third thing is take little breaks, take baby breaks, take mini breaks, kind of thing. Get out, take a little walk,
stretch your legs,
that
whatever,
kind of
get your mind clear. And sometimes, believe it or not, when you're just doing a little walking, you'd be amazed how much your thoughts are running and what have you, and you can actually have a clear path.
Yeah. And then give yourself little rewards. Every time that you get something checked off, you throw a mint, ring a bell, do something, but reward yourself as you're going along to keep your stuff going. We kind of want to wrap up with some new trends going on. Maybe not new, but so these are some kitchen trends that we've got. So one of the biggest things in kitchens right now is quartz. Quartz has been gaining in popularity. Granted, I'm not saying granite's not still popular. It is, but we're seeing the abundance of quartz more and more right now. We're seeing a lot more quartz moving out into kitchens. Number 2, our kitchen islands. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
I messed up.
Oh, that's good. Kitchen islands are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we love them. I mean, we're looking at, we're renovating our house right now, and so guess what? We're putting in this big old slab of granite right in the middle, kind of thing, and doing, so kitchen islands are getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Believe it or not, your luxury vinyl floor is a growing choice.
All right, this is not grandma's vinyl. Okay, this is not that cheap little vinyl. Yeah,
and they look like hardwood floor. They're hyperallergenic and easy to clean, and they don't scratch easily like the old vinyl flooring.
White and gray are the top choices in kitchen cabinets in there. So those are our 2 most popular kitchen cabinet colors. And then we're seeing more and more high-tech appliances are just really moving in. The other big trends that we got going on, and so all the different paint manufacturers have released their top paint colors for 2022. And I don't know if they all just kind of like got together and and like did this.
Supply and demand here.
Well, what's really, what I find really interesting, and for those of you that are listening on the podcast, you're not going to be able to see this, so we'll try and describe it. But it's all gray greens, like all the paint colors for next year. So Sherwin-Williams, their paint color for 2022 is Evergreen Fog, which is this gray green mossy type of color. For PP&G, they make a lot of commercial paints and a lot of your big like bulk purchases of paint. Builders go directly to them, that kind of stuff. But their number 1 color is Olive Sprig, which is a little bit lighter.
It's almost like a sage color, but lighter sage.
And then, nearly identical in my mind is Benjamin Moore October Mist, and that's another one. Both of those are like so similar in colors.
They're very green tone, gray green tone, because the green brings out the warmth, while gray, is very always classic.
Now, some are a little bit more green than others, and so for Valspar, theirs is Blanched time. And I know these are bizarre words, okay, but the paint manufacturers have each one has their own name
Yeah.
that they can pull up in there. And so for Valspar, it's blanch spar, which is much more of
A true
a
sage
true
green.
yeah,
Yeah.
a darker green.
Well, not a hunter green, but
No,
a
yeah,
sage green.
yeah, exactly.
So
And then for Bear,
I like that one.
Bear is Breezeway, which is probably the bluest of all the ones.
It's a blue gray.
It's kind of a blue gray.
Yeah.
It's got a little hints of green in it, that kind of stuff. So, but those are the paint colors that all the different painting manufacturers are seeing for 2022. It's good for us to stay kind of up to date. What our
Paint colors are.
what's going on in the market, that kind of thing. This week for training. So tomorrow, my lovely bride is going to be teaching 2022 GAR contracts, and she's going to be doing that in person in the Atlanta airport, in the airport office. I'm going to be doing business planning for real estate agents. So I'll be at MSAR Compliments of Women's Council of Realtors. And so I'll be doing business planning, and if you're a member of WCR, please come out. That's a really great class. If you're
not a member, please go ahead and pay the fee. I promise you.
It's worth it.
The business planning is really, really good segment. It'll help you keep you focused for this year.
Well, I was talking about WCR's worth.
WCR is worth it. Don't get me wrong. So.
All right, and then on Wednesday, Ming is teaching again back to back. She's teaching 2022 GAR contracts again. She's going to be doing live here in our McDonough office. And then on Thursday
Nancy hosting a vision board party. So for
those of you who just took,
for those of you who just took the business planning, you may want to go do vision board.
Yep.
So you can visualize what you want to do for next year.
So hope you guys have a great week. If we can be of service, please call, text, smoke signals. We answer it all. Have a great week.
Thank you. Have a great Monday.
Bye.
Stay warm.